If I was on the street with no love, I know you would put some change in my cup. If I was down on my luck, you would pick me up. If ever I would breathe my last breath, I know you would put your hands on my chest. Sing to me and say, God bless. You would lift me up. When I feel like I'm dying, you come around with that good love, good love, good love. Make me feel like it's alright. Make me believe in this good life. Yeah, you pick me up. Good love, good love, good love. When I feel like I'm dying, you give me strength, help me find it. Yeah, that good, good love. Never have to doubt your faith. When I'm on my knees, you pray. When I'm broke, you don't break. You say you can make it. You sure know how to save me, baby. Woo. Oh, when I feel like I'm drowning, you come around with that good love, good love, good love. Make me feel like it's alright. Make me believe in this good life. Yeah, you pick me up. Good love, good love, good love. When I feel like I'm dying, you give me strength, help me find it. Yeah, that good, good love. And I can't thank you enough for bringing me back to life. Yeah, and you make me feel like it's alright. Yeah, that good, good love, good love, good love, good love. When I feel like I'm dying, you give me strength, help me find it. Yeah, that good, good love.
Unmute. All right. Good morning, beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining us. I know I had a lot of people ask me, can I get a replay? So they registered so that they will be the only ones. If you registered, you will be able to get a replay. Otherwise, no, you might hear some dinging. Anyway, hold on. I sent you the Zoom link, baby cakes. I sent you the Zoom link and you got another email this morning. I'm getting people asking me how they get in. And I sent the Zoom link this morning. I'm Ronnie Loiza. I'm a Fitness After 50 coach, and I've been doing these free live shows. I've done 2 so far, one on intermittent fasting, the truths and myths. And we had 4 wonderful speakers come in and volunteer to give of their service and their knowledge and their expertise. And then I had another one, inflammation and aging. And that went over so well. And so many people asked for that replay. And today is on metabolism. Now, we can't cover everything about metabolism today, but we have some great people on who are volunteering their time and their expertise and their knowledge to give you and give us and just fill us up with their aspects of it, their knowledge of it, and their subtopics. So I'm going to just cover the foundation first. Rev it up. Metabolism 101 at any age, at any fitness level. What metabolism really is. So Carrie Lynn Morgan, she's our Zoom master. She's in charge. She's got a PowerPoint just so that you can look at it, maybe take notes, and then refer to this later on. I'm just going to explain the basic of what metabolism is, and then we'll bring on our experts to talk about their field of expertise. Okay. Again, I'm Ronnie, Fitness After 50 coach. And just so you'll know my background, I should tell you that I've been a personal trainer for a decade, and I turned into a personal trainer. I became one. I got certified. I studied my brains out and went through all the CEUs through NASM in my 40s because of my health. I grew up, just doing aerobics, and I didn't even grow up as an athlete. I was always the last one to pick the dodgeball and all that. But I became a personal trainer because my hips started hurting. I had degenerative disc disease, I found out. And at the time, I'm like, what is that? Well, the liquid between your vertebrae starts thinning out as you get older. It's just aging. And when I was in my 20s and 30s, I jogged. I went to step class. I don't know if people remember that. I used to go to aerobics when it wasn't cardio. I pounded the heck out of my body. And I was really more into aerobics and cardio than I was in strength training. It's just that time, that era. And then I found out that I really needed to get my bone density up. And after 4 chiropractors, decompression, acupuncture, 2 Western medical doctors, which I totally believe in, but one just wanted to write me pain medication. I'm like, but that's not fixing the problem. Another one thought maybe fusing my spine. I didn't want to do that. So I finally got put by a chiropractor with a corrective exercise specialist personal trainer. Within 2 weeks, I didn't hurt anymore. And I'm talking going from my hip hurt and my back hurting in the morning when I got out of bed to I did not hurt anymore. I still had my 2 herniated discs. I am now 56. I just turned on July 20th, so I've been 56 for 10 days. And I have 5 herniated discs. I live with that. I know how to train properly. And my bone density is always going up because I strength train. So that's my personal journey of how I got into becoming a personal trainer and fitness. And I was not an athlete. And then I became a fitness and lifestyle coach because during the pandemic, a lot of women were talking to me about overwhelm. They couldn't fit fitness in their life. They didn't want to be indispensable at work, whether they were the boss or the employee. Their kids were at home. They were going to school on Zoom. Their partners were at home. Everybody was working off the dining room table. We had a lot to deal with this past year. And women, we pulled up our big girl pants and we took care of business. But often women still felt, even though, they had it all together and they were confident, there were still things that got in their way, their habits, they're overwhelmed, they were anxious, and the body and the brain doesn't know anxiety inside, from physical anxiety and stress to stress, which comes in the form of anxiety inside. So I turned into a coach because fitness affects every aspect of your life, your nutrition and your exercise. And that doesn't mean being a gym rat or working out every day hard and working out for an hour. It just means fitting it in as you can. So that's my journey into becoming now a fitness after 50 coach, even though I train still people in their 20s and 30s. I want to coach women to help them realize what they want to be at this stage of their lives and then set their goals, because you're not going to die with I lost 25 pounds on your tombstone. You want to live the rest of your life feeling good, feeling healthy, feeling strong, and having time for fun, for your family, for your friends, for yourself, for your career, and still be a high achieving rock star at it. Right? So anyway, today's topic is metabolism. So let's get going. Carrie Lynn's going to work the PowerPoint for me. And first, let me just tell you that metabolism is just another word for your biochemistry in your body. Metabolism is a synonym for hormones. And I know Dr. Amber's going to speak into that. I know Neva's going to speak into that. I know Dana's going to speak into that. But your metabolism really regulates the hormones. It regulates, I should say, the glands, your glandular system in your body. Thyroid is one of them. You always hear about that one. That's the most common one. Some people think, well, I have an overactive thyroid or I have an underactive thyroid. Dana can get more into that. She's the menopause guru. But the metabolism is just at the rate at which it converts energy. Food is energy. What you drink, what you consume. All right, so we can go on to the next slide. But we can go on to the next slide, Carrie Lynn. Your metabolism really is a combination of your molecules inside you, your hormones. It's a messenger. It has messenger chemicals that regulates at the rate at which you burn calories. We'll go on to the next one. And so some of these things that we have to look out for, I want to bring this up. All women have different hormones. And yes, we do have testosterone. I'm sure many of you know that, but we need testosterone. And as we get older, in our 40s, in our 50s, we start losing the amount of testosterone in our bodies. And that's why we also need to weight train, but we can get into that. Xenoestrogens and testosterone really affect your metabolism. You always hear, well, I'm getting older, my metabolism's slowing down. Basic, and we can get into different aspects of that. But basically, yes, it is slowing down, but that's because as we get older, we start losing muscle mass, that's sarcopenia. It's natural and it's okay. And you don't have to be a bodybuilder. And massively strength train and you will not bulk up unless you spend 2, 3 to 10 hours a day at the gym, really weight training to bodybuild. You will not bulk up. But as women, especially, we need to produce testosterone and we need to build our muscles to keep the mass up. Think of it this way. A Mini Cooper needs a 4-cylinder engine and a pickup truck or a big old SUV needs an 8-cylinder. Why? Because the pickup truck has more mass, period. So it needs more power to burn that gas. That's the metabolism. So as we have less mass, we need to keep building the mass so that our muscles will say, hey, metabolism, feed me. Okay. And it feeds it. First the glycogen, but then it feeds it fat. Fat is energy. But also because when the muscles are recuperating after you train them, after you work them out and exercise them, it also gets the metabolism kicking in, which has all the hormones in your body working. So that affects your cardiovascular system. It affects how you sleep. It affects your productivity, your clarity of mind, all of that. It's all hormones. So we need to watch out for xenoestrogens. I really wanted to bring this up. An example, estriadol. There are foods, plastic. And I'm not this big fanatic extremist like ban all plastic bottles, although I think we should, but I still buy water. I still have plastic in my life, the milk carton, but you should know and look into it. And maybe we can start going into at least going to the store and looking at things and deciding to buy glass and using acrylic and glassware instead of everything microwavable safe. That has BPAs. Xenoestrogens mimic estrogen. And what they do, they're in pesticides, they're in a lot of skincare products, cleaning products, building supplies, contraceptives. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Carrie Lynn. You can start looking at all this: nail polish, polish removers, detergents, fabric softeners, bleached feminine hygiene products, the pads, the panty liners, things that you find in condoms and gels. Those are, prophylactics, fumes in new carpets, certain flooring and fiberboard. I mean, it's things to just start looking out for in our lives as we're rebuilding or remodeling a room or we're getting new carpeting. Maybe start looking at these things, because if we each do our own part and asking what are things made of and asking our suppliers who makes those carpets, who makes those drapes, who makes this cookingware, if we start looking into that and start changing into getting more natural and using glass and the old-fashioned stuff that our grandmothers used, we can reverse the effects. We want BPAs out of our lives as much as we can, totally if possible, but you can start looking at it. You have to overhaul your entire pantry today. You don't have to redo your entire house, but start looking at what we're using, start looking at your makeup, start researching it. The more aware we are, and not go crazy over it and not be totally stressed over it, but start making decisions. We have control of what we buy. We are the consumers. So I do try to buy paraben free. I don't really wear makeup. I wear lipstick, but I even look at that. The skincare. It's things that you use in your daily lives, in your family's lives, that you can start looking at. Start doing, cleaning products are the best way to start. Start seeing what are people saying. People are trying to get in. You can start making decisions on what you buy to clean your house, for example. So again, it's not like to stress over, but to start being aware of and having the knowledge of. Dry cleaning, for example. Start looking for eco-friendly dry cleaners, for green cleaners. Ask them what they use. There are certain things, I think we can go on to the next one. There are certain dry cleaners that actually say, well, this is leptins, but I'll tell you about it. There are dry cleaners that you can ask them for wet cleaning. They still use water, but it's not washing. So you can ask your dry cleaners about these kind of services. And then there are other things that say dry cleaning only that you really can wet clean. So things like that. Sleep. Oh my God. I was talking to Dana about this morning. Sleep is so important. And I've seen surveys and research that women get less sleep than men. Now I'm broad brushing it, but everything that I've read, women tend to sleep less than men. Maybe because, we have one more thing to look at. We have one more thing to do at night. And we try to go to bed by 9 or 10 or 11, but that going to bed time starts turning into just another email, or I didn't fix this, or I got to fold that. And we end up going to bed an hour after we wanted to. Sleep is so important for your metabolism. I think it's the number one thing, more than food. Oh my God, yes. Leptin kicks in. Just remember lullaby sleep, la la land. When you sleep, your body goes into action. It is working to restorate, renovation, cleaning out the house, as I call it. I know it's very simple. That's the also what's going on during intermittent fasting. If you're not eating, then your body is actually still working. Cleaning out the house is what I call it, cleaning house. But it's repairing a lot of things in there, and it's also upping the leptin and lowering the ghrelin, which is what you want, because ghrelin is a hunger hormone. So when you sleep, you don't need energy because you're not doing anything. Leptin gives you a feeling that you're full, that you're satiated. Your body goes, no, we have enough calories to burn while we sleep. You don't need to. We don't need to eat. We don't need food. We don't need energy. So it's okay. So raise the level of metabolism. And metabolism, please lower the ghrelin. The ghrelin is the hormone that says, feed me, I need energy, I need food. Now, when you lack sleep during the day, people tend to drink coffee or Red Bull, I don't know. But they think they're hungry or they want energy, so they want that sugar or caffeine, or just to be noshing, to be actively doing something as they're working, because they think they're hungry, but they're not hungry. You are sleepy. Your body needs rest because it needs to do work inside. And so you don't need to burn as much fuel during your sleep, but also it affects you during your day. So you need enough sleep. I know a lot of women are thinking, I want to get 8 hours, but there's just no way. Minimum 7 hours. The 6 hours isn't cutting it. I know I don't walk the talk often. If you can take a little 20-minute nap in the day, heaven. If not, that's fine. But you need your sleep. Let's go ahead and go on to the next one. Now, volumetric, well, the leptin is what I was telling you about. You can look at this chart real quick. I don't know if you can take some notes on it, but it regulates your thyroid hormones, which Dana can speak more into because she's going to talk about menopause. But that is really important, the leptin. It decreases the glucose-stimulated insulin secretion. So you don't need insulin while you sleep. It helps an increased heart rate. Oh, of course, this is so important. I tend to have osteopenia. It's genetic because I eat well. My calcium intake is great. If I overdo the calcium, I can't just take supplements. I might have calcification. So I don't want to overdo the calcium. That's why weight training for me specifically, because I'm 5'1 3/4 and I'm small boned, I tend to go toward that because of genetics. So strength training has really helped my bone density, and sleep helps because it helps also regulate your bone mass. This is so important for women after 40 and especially for women after 50 because our bones start aging and they get a little brittle. So you need enough rest, and metabolism helps that. It regulates the menstrual cycle if you still have your period. If you're perimenopausal, leptin helps that. If you're postmenopausal, we'll talk more into that because you have to regulate your hormones, your estrogen, your progesterone. Also, and like I said before, it helps regulate your appetite. It controls metabolism and energy homeostasis, meaning homeostasis, you're sleeping. You don't need energy while you're sleeping. Think of it like when what is it called? Hibernating. And it activates the immune cells. That's what sleep does for you. Metabolism is actually connected with your immunity. Go figure. All right, let's go ahead and go to the other one. I'd like to talk to you about the testosterone for metabolism. Low testosterone may contribute to a lower or slower metabolism. It can contribute to heart disease. You know, women suffer. We're at the highest risk, the highest population for heart disease. A lot of us have anxiety, and anxiety causes heart problems, heart disease, high blood pressure. So our metabolism helps us regulate that. Again, loss of bone density, low libido, poor memory. So we need testosterone. So you should talk to your endocrinologist. You should talk to your OBGYN. You should talk to a naturopathic doctor. And don't just take the first, oh, you should do this. Talk to several experts. Go on Clubhouse. Come to me. Go to a coach. Go to a health coach. Talk to a lot of people. Do your homework. Do your research for what suits you and what is best for you. Start getting in tune with your own body. I don't need to take hormone stimulation after menopause. I've been through menopause. I didn't need it. Some women do. They need hormone replacement. I really talked to my OBGYN. I talked to an endocrinologist, and I also talked to my internal doctor. And then I really made my own decision. I did not need hormone replacement for me. What I needed to do was weight train and keep my testosterone level up. And I also get a medication. It's called Prolia. It's twice a year shot to prevent osteopenia. It helps my own body regenerate the bone mass. So it's not a post osteopenia thing. It's beforehand. It helps my own bones use the calcium that it has to prevent calcium loss and to rebuild. All right, we'll go on to the next one. I do want to get to volumetrics, and then I'm going to present our first speaker. I think I have one more, don't I, Carrie Lynn? If I don't, let me know. We talked about that, resistance, weight training, muscles. And again, you won't bulk up. But if you only do cardio, I must say, the heart is a muscle, but you can't take it out of your body and pump weights, right? So your heart, the only way we can work it is through making it go faster and go slower. Go faster and go slower. That's endurance training. We can't strength train per se like we do our other muscles, but you do need to have weight training in your exercise routine. And I also have Brittany Witt coming on. She's a personal trainer and a fitness competitor. She's going to talk about that a little bit more. So don't be afraid of bulking up, and you should do what you're going to do. People always ask me, should I do yoga or Pilates? Yes. Should I strength train or this? Yes. Do what you're going to do because you need to enjoy it. If you take something on that you just hate, like some people just don't like HIIT, or they don't like sprinting, or they don't like a certain class, they don't like CrossFit. Some people love CrossFit. You should do and work into your exercise plan what you will look forward to doing and what you will do, kickboxing, whatever. But whatever you plan to do, and someone like me, this is what I work with my clients. We create a workout plan, a personal workout plan. Keyword personal. What will you do? How much time are you willing to spend? And how can we work that into your schedule so it's not the first thing to fall off your calendar, and so that you have no excuses? By the way, excuses are valid. They're real. You're not just making them up because you don't feel like it. Yes, we understand that things come up and you feel overwhelmed, or you're too tired, or they're all valid, but you can work it out. That's what I work with my clients. So choose what you're going to do, but do include some type of resistance training because you need it for your metabolism. We'll go on to the next one. Can't wait to get to the volumetrics one.
That's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay, let me tell you about volumetrics because I really wanted to bring this up. Eating. Yes, we'll talk more about nutrition. And yes, you will see like, oh, this will rev up your metabolism. This will help boost your metabolism. Okay, here's Ronnie's philosophy. Whatever nutrition plan or however you decide to eat is correct as long as you don't overeat. People always ask me, how are you eating that? You stay so fit. I eat. I don't overeat. If you give your body more calories than it needs, it doesn't know what to do with it, so it packs it on as fat. Because like, okay, I don't know what to do. Again, the car, the Mini Cooper, you can top it off, but you can't put more gas in that car. It'll spill it out, or it'll tell you stop and it won't take anymore. Now, the modern cars, but our bodies doesn't do that. And fat doesn't make you fat, sugar does, but that's another topic. Just really start looking for whatever is going to suit and satisfy you, you'll be happy with, and you'll do it. Every diet in the world works as far as losing weight if you do it. Problem is, most diets, they're not sustainable for your life. You need to feed your body what it craves. And so that's another thing. Changing your cravings, what your tongue, what your taste buds want. You can do that because we're not born wanting something other than nutrition, other than nourishment as a baby. Okay, we weren't born wanting Lay's potato chips. So you train your taste buds. So that's habit changing, that's lifestyle changing. That's what my clients want from me, and that's what we work on. And guess what? It works because you have control of your taste buds and what you put in your beautiful body. So volumetrics really helps. Whatever diet plan, nutrition plan that you choose and you believe in, volumetrics should be into that. Now, there's some things that won't fit into your keto or paleo or whatever that I'm going to name, but volumetrics is just filling your stomach up, because when you expand your stomach, guess what? Your metabolism kicks in because certain hormones are released. It's the type of food with more fiber and water in it, not more food. All right. So your stomach expands and it releases leptin, our good friend leptin. It says, I'm not hungry anymore. I'm good. The leptin curbs the ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone. High volume foods are loaded with water and fiber. Again, I repeat that. So some ideas: tons of veggies, vegetables, greens, beans. Again, I say some of these won't fit into your particular diet, such as some diets, they don't want you to eat beans, lentils, legumes, water. And I'm not talking about Gatorade. For me, I hope they don't sue me. I think Gatorade and all those Powerades are crap. All you need is water. But also look at your water. If you read water, it has minerals. Different waters have different ingredients, have different types of minerals. So we can talk about that too. And actually, Dr. Amber will really, really help into that. But just eat a lot of volumetrics, eat a lot of the good stuff. And I don't mean live on 3 salads a day, but bulk up more. This is my personal thing. The more fruit you eat and the more veggies you eat, and yes, enjoy your protein. You need protein, but have the ones that have the higher packed water. Oh, back to when we were talking about BPAs, pesticides, you might want to look at this as well. Grapefruit, really thick skin, really thick peel. Bananas, watermelon, they have thick skins and thick shells. So the pesticide will tend not to go in. If you can afford and you prefer and you want to buy organic, great. But the thinner skinned plums and grapes and all that, the pesticide's going to get in. That's just something to know, something to think of. I eat all fruits. I love fruits. They're my best friend. So anyway, I wanted to leave you with that. Metabolism is just a synonym, an equal sign for hormones. It's not that you were born with a set metabolic rate and, oh, I'm aging, so, my metabolism is going to slow and there's nothing I can do about it. Oh, yes, there is. You can boost your metabolism at any age, any fitness level. You have to working your muscles, even though you may not like weight training. You can find how to weight train at least a little bit. You have to eat correctly to feed those muscles the right amount of protein. Whatever your diet you choose, don't overeat. Make sure you're giving your body nutrition. And one of the most important things for me, sleep. Get your rest. As we grow older, we tend to sleep a little bit less, but make sure that you're not yawning and you're tired and you're lethargic because you didn't get enough sleep. And ask yourself before you eat, did I get enough sleep? Am I really hungry? Is my stomach growling and feeling void, or am I just tired? That's how you start controlling that. With that said, I would like to present my very first speaker, Neva Brooks. She's an RN, BSN. She has an MBA. She is the head of Diamond Sharp Coaching. She'll explain to you why the diamond, but I love the C's in the diamond. She's a certified life coach, and she is here to address mainly who she coaches are nurses. They're near and dear to her heart because she was a nurse. She's been both on the administrative side and as the nurse, and she found, Neva, are you on, honey?
Yes, I am.
Beautiful. She found that, well, you tell the story of why you started coaching nurses, but I know my mom was an RN, and the story she would tell me how they were on their feet for hours and then they would eat an energy bar. And these are health professionals, and a lot of health professionals and a lot of professionals, whatever profession you're in, we have that energy bar in our drawer, in our office, or now that we work at home, the kitchen's right around the corner. We keep running to the refrigerator. A lot of health professionals and busy women, busy entrepreneurs don't take time for self-care and for nutrition and for sleep. So Neva, with that, thank you so much for volunteering your time and coming on and just pouring into us. Take it away. How did you get into this and what do you do? Who do you work with? And then we'll get into metabolism.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ronnie, for this opportunity to share with your audience. By the way, you don't look a day over 35. You shared your age earlier, so I don't want to go back and say that, but you don't look a day over 35. 56 and loving it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about busy lifestyles for women, busy lifestyles and sedentary lifestyles. Now, you might say those are exact opposites, and yes, they are. Busy lifestyles for women who are busy and on the go all the time. And then more sedentary lifestyles for those of us who are working from home. A lot of people since COVID are working at home. So I want to talk to you about that and talk to you about how both of those things then affect your metabolism. And Ronnie's absolutely right. I am a nurse. I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for 35 years. Most of my experience has been within the behavioral health arena. I started out at the bedside and ended up retiring as a nurse executive. So I saw the gambit of what nurses do. I do coach. I'm a certified life coach, and I coach nurses primarily, but other professional women as well. So let me just talk to you from a nursing standpoint to the nurses that might be on our call today. So from nursing school, right? Stress in nursing school. And so we eat the wrong things and we're stressed out a lot. And then from nursing school to nursing, most nurses start out at the bedside. And just let me tell you, very intense at the bedside, a lot of stress. So I'm talking to you about busy lifestyles and as that relates to stress, right? 12-hour shifts. And Ronnie hit the nail on the head when she said, we're busy for 12 hours straight, running. And we do have energy bars either in our pocket or in our desk drawer. And then nurses that work in leadership that aren't necessarily at the bedside, but still in patient care areas. A lot of stress, because you know what? It never closes. The hospital never, it's 24/7 operation. And so nursing leaders are on call a lot, high stress. Ronnie talked to us about sleeping patterns. A lot of nurses in leadership don't get the right sleeping patterns. If you're working a 12-hour shift, you're usually working 3 of those a week. So at some point you kind of get your sleep in gear and then you're right back to work. But when nurses are on call 24/7, 3-4 days in a row, day becomes night, night becomes day. And Ronnie talked about how important it is to have a good sleep pattern. And then nurse practitioners. You know, a lot of nurses now, a lot of you probably have a nurse practitioner in addition to your doctor, or just a nurse practitioner to oversee your medical care. Long hours, lots of research, lots of stress. Why am I talking about that? Because our stress affects our metabolism, and we're going to get into that. The workforce for nursing is very short, you all, extremely short. In fact, in my hometown, just yesterday, this is in Indiana, 10 area hospitals were on diversion at the same time. And what does that mean? That means for EMS, if you call an ambulance, they're going to divert you to another hospital. And there were 10 hospitals in this area on diversion at the same time. And when I read that article, the primary reason was because there weren't enough nurses to take care of now the influx of patients. So there's a nursing shortage, and that adds to that stress that we feel at the bedside, wanting to give that care, wanting to have that compassion and not having enough staff, wanting to give the care that we need, but having so many patients, you can't get to them. Stress at the bedside. So what does that look like then? Exactly as Ronnie said, we're working 12-hour shifts. The Joint Commission and infection control says that you can't have open containers in your work area in the nursing station. Did you all know that? Because for the infection. So you can't have an open cup, you can't have open food. So in the past, we used to just snarf down our dinner at the nursing station, then run over and take care of a patient. They said, no more of that. You can't do that. No open containers. So what that means is that nurses don't get breaks. You have a scheduled lunch break, but you work right up to it, and then it's almost time to go back. So you grab one of those unhealthy, high calorie snacks that'll give you energy for just a little while. No nutritional value whatsoever. And what we find out is that affects our metabolism, because our metabolism is just going crazy. It has no area to settle down.
It's spiking your insulin, correct?
It's spiking your insulin up and down, up and down, up and down. There's
And even though, Neva, a lot of us that are going to be watching this in the replay or who's on live here, and I invite everybody to turn on your cameras. Let me see your beautiful face, and Neva as well, and ask Neva questions. But how do you find this translate to other women in other professions and their metabolism?
So metabolism is the same. Now, I'm sure you've heard people say, oh, I was just born with a high metabolism or a good metabolism, meaning they can just they figure they can eat what they want and they burn it off. Still, that's not nutritionally sound, right? So whether you're a nurse executive, whether you're a nurse, whether you are working at McDonald's, whether you run a clothing store, whether you're an entrepreneur, you run your own business, it's the same thing. You have to be able to do some things. So let me tell you what some of those things are. Make sure that you schedule a break and stick to it. Make sure you do that. Whether you're working at home at your computer, schedule a break and stick to it. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. Okay? Take mind breaks. Schedule a time to say, I'm going to take 5 minutes and I'm just going to relax. I'm going to clear my mind and I'm going to get myself rescheduled, right? When you take your breaks, if possible, walk outside. Ronnie talked about the importance of getting exercise. And so when you're working 12-hour shifts as a nurse, or if you're at home at your computer for 8 solid hours, schedule a break and stick to it. Get up and go outside. Another thing you could do is prepare your meals ahead of time. Prepare healthy snacks so that you're not reaching for that energy bar, or that you're not in front of your computer with a bowl of popcorn and potato chips mixed in there with a handful of nuts thrown in there, right? Because you think the nuts are going to give you that protein that you need, that you're not just in front of your computer snarfing it down. Plan it ahead of time so that you can get up and get a healthy snack and keep going. Does that answer your question?
Oh, a lot of it, yes. And can you please speak into, because I know you know a lot about this, how does stress affect your metabolism? How does distress, really, the real name, how does anxiety, even though you may not think you're anxious, like, hey, I'm working, I'm busy. Yeah, okay, I get a little tired, but am I really anxious? We all have stress in us. How does that affect your metabolism? How do you know that as a nurse and as a health practitioner, Neva?
Well, I can speak to that personally as a person, as a woman, and as a nurse as well. So personally, the stress affects your metabolism because we do things that are anti-healthy. You're stressed out, your brain gets the signal that you're stressed, and you eat for comfort, or you just sit for comfort, right? Anxiety, depression, and stress are one of the three main contributors to us being able to that keeps us from being able to get our metabolism revved back up. We're talking today about how to rev up your metabolism. Now, let me say this. Make sure you have a practitioner that you can relate to. So if you go to your practitioner and you say you're feeling a little down, or you things just quite aren't the same, they're a little bit off balance, and they don't offer a thyroid test, ask for one. Ask for one, because there's two things. Ronnie had a wonderful picture that depicted the thyroid. You saw it at the very top. It looks like a little butterfly, and that's regulating your metabolism, right? And so sometimes if your thyroid is off, if it's underactive, it's called hypothyroidism, and you see things like gaining weight, not being able to lose it. Being tired all the time, all those types of things. And sometimes it's hyperthyroidism, which means your thyroid is working overtime, and you can't gain weight, or you can't keep weight. You might be anxious. That's anxiety and stress. You may be fidgety. Those things you'll see if you have hyperthyroidism. So those are some things you would want to actually watch out for. I'd like to engage the audience, if I could, Ronnie, and just ask how many people are working from home. If you could just, on your reactions, if you click that, you'll see a little hand to raise. Oh, you're raising your hands. Great. How many people are working from home? Yeah.
Hey, Tanya, I'd like to invite you, Hazel, I'd like to invite you, everybody, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and turn on your cameras. We'd love to see your faces. The more you engage, and I'd love for you to unmute your mics and ask your questions. Marie, Jerry Lynn, Edie, Hazel, Sharon, Jackie, go ahead and turn on your cameras. I want to see your beautiful faces. Hi, Tanya. Thank you so much for turning on your camera. Hi, Lois. Hi, Jerry Lynn. Hi, Jackie. Okay, so a lot of us are working from home. Anybody have a question for Edith right now, particularly about your metabolism or something you had in mind? Edith, for example, do you have a question?
Hello, everyone. I have a question about my metabolism. I've been saying that my metabolism all my life.
Oh, your internet. All your life, Edith? How old are you, Edith, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, she froze. So we'll come back to her. Somebody else. I'd love for you to talk about specifically with Neva here. Take advantage of it. Who has a question for Neva? Jerry Lynn, perhaps?
Oh, I'm trying to get there.
Hey, okay. We'll come back to Edith.
Well, let me just share something. Hi, Geraldine. How are you? It's so good to see you. Let me just share something before Geraldine asks her question. So there was a McKinsey study done, McKinsey Institute, in November of 2020. And what they said was 20% of the workforce is working effectively from home 3 to 5 days a week, just as effective as they were when they were in the shops before, 20%. And if that keeps up, you can imagine for next year and the year after, how many people are going to be sitting at home, women in front of the computer. So that's why we're talking about sedentary lifestyle and your metabolism. I just wanted to throw that in. Hey, Geraldine, you have a question?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I have hypothyroidism, and I'm getting ready to start a warehouse job where I'll be sitting all day. And what would you suggest that I do to help bring up my metabolism in that type of atmosphere?
Ronnie, do you want to respond to that?
I'd love for you to respond as far as stress, because Jerry Lynn, you might not think just sitting and working at a warehouse in front of a computer is stressful, but it can get to your psyche. So I would really love Neva to speak into that while we have her here. But yes, get up, stretch your abs, stretch yourself. If you can take a 5-minute walk during your lunch break, I'm assuming you get lunch breaks. If you can get a lunch break, let's say it's a half-hour lunch break, 15 minutes fast somewhere, you gotta walk back 15 minutes back. And then you still have a little bit of time for a lunch. Or if you have an hour break, if you want to do that, get up every hour, set your little timer and stretch.
Okay.
Dance around. Also, the other day I read, and we can talk to Dana about that. I said that the other day on Clubhouse. I was just reading an article that just came out this week that said women, especially perimenopausal and postmenopausal women, actually can reduce the level of anxiety and all the symptoms of menopause, hot flash, lethargy, all that, by dancing 30 minutes 3 times a week. And I don't mean like, kind of sway, or really, it's the happy
Yes.
movement of doing it. It's the happiness and it's the movement. It's not just happiness, because you can sit in front of the TV watching the Olympics, eating a hot dog and popcorn. No. You may think that makes you happy, and it might make you happy, but it's the happiness with you moving, because then your body, your brain, your psyche goes, oh, this is making me happy. Movement makes me happy. That's how you train your psyche and your body to associate movement, which is exercise, and happiness. So if you dance and you love it, they may think you're crazy at work, so be it. Get other coworkers to engage with you. If not, then at least put some music on, some earbuds, or go for that walk with some great music. That's my tip. Go for and
Okay.
hydrate. Neva?
Yeah, so I agree with everything Ronnie said. I just would like to add to that. It may be helpful to get a journal and start to write out how you're feeling at certain times during the day. If you're working a new job as a warehouse job and you're working under more stress, right? You do want to make sure you get your sleep pattern right. I don't know what your hours are going to be, but you're going to have to be very intentional about getting your sleep in. That will help reduce stress. But I agree with what Ronnie said about just getting your psyche where it needs to be. Journal it, write it down, and you can look back at that from day to day to say, okay, I was feeling this way when this happened, and then you can make adjustments there.
I'd like to ask you one more question before we let you go, that I know that somehow we need to know this information, and you can somehow seep it into your own lives, ladies. Neva was talking about a couple of weeks ago about mental health patients, and I believe, Neva, you were talking about how, tell me if I'm wrong, was it prisoners, or was it just mental health people and depression, how they were a little different? But it has, do you remember our conversation about that?
Well, I know that on the inpatient unit for years, we didn't do routine thyroid tests. We didn't do routine testing for that. And what we found out was that we would get patients on the unit, on a psych unit, with depression, with anxiety, and just off the wall. Now, some of these patients would have a diagnosis of schizophrenia or major depressive disorder. Yes, some of them would, but some of them had never had a diagnosis like that before. And what we found is that their thyroid was off, that their T4, T7 levels were off. And once we incorporated that into routine lab tests, we had a lot of less patients diagnosed with mental health problems. And we could send them then back. The psychiatrist would actually start thyroid medication, and then we could get them packaged up pretty quickly, get them out of the hospital and back to their practitioner. And yes, you do see that.
And how I think that can relate to any of us is we may not think that we're anxious or have a mental health problem. I think mental health should be part of a yearly routine, just like our yearly exam. But do always in your workup also kind of check in. Maybe, I mean, I know our insurance can cover 1 to 3 sessions of just therapy to see how good you are. Maybe if you're feeling a little anxious or depressed or low, go ahead and get a blood workup and a hormone workup. Ask for that. Women need to be their own advocates. We often don't ask for an endocrinology referral, and we really need to see what our hormones, our levels are. And Dr. Amber can speak more to that. But what Neva said, that caught my ear the other day, because I'm like, you're right. My mom was a psych nurse, and they started noticing that, maybe it's hormones. It's not just all therapy, emotional, that end, or psychiatric. Maybe.
Yeah, there's definitely a correlation. Definitely a correlation. So if I could just leave the ladies with this couple of thoughts. The one is, if you find yourself feeling depressed or a little bit of moodiness, Don't sleep that, right? Don't just not do anything about that. You need to speak up and say something to someone about that. It may be as simple as your hormones being off a little bit. You can feel so much better learning that, whether you need hormone replacement or you just need to do some things to rev up your metabolism. That's what we're talking about today, revving up your metabolism. So don't sleep on it. If you're not feeling well, speak up and get some help. And the other thing is that metabolism really is the process that your body uses to transform the calories that we consume to the energy that we need. It's really just that simple. Your metabolism is the process that your body uses to transform the calories that you consume to the energy that you need. So remember that, and you can rev up your metabolism.
And Neva, where can people get a hold of you? And also, I believe you have a gift or an offer or something for our viewers.
Yeah, so you can go to my website. The website is www.diamondsharpcoach.com. And on that website, you can sign up for a free 20-minute clarity session. And what that means is you can sign up and we'll sit down and talk about where you are in your process of going from a point of conflict, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whether it's on your job, whether you're starting a new job, Geraldine, or whether you're starting your own business, from that point of conflict to how to walk in clarity. So if you go to my website, www.diamondsharpcoach.com, you can sign up for a free 20-minute clarity session.
It's in
Thank
the
you,
chat.
Ronnie.
It's in the chat, and I'll also email everybody. Thank you so much, Neva.
Thank you for allowing me this time.
Of course. Okay, up next is Dr. Amber, and then we're going to have, she's a naturopathic doctor. Then what you want to stick around to the very end and beyond, we have Dana Lawson coming up with menopause, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, and you can relate at any age to this because you're going to go through it. If you haven't been through it. And I also have a little bit more to talk about. And Brittany Wick, you want to stay on for Brittany. She's this beautiful blonde and she's an Army vet. I believe it was Army. And she has so much to tell us about lifestyle hacks. So with that, I'm so honored and so happy to have Dr. Amber Krogsrud. Please tell me if I mispronounce your last name. I have seen her in various areas in Instagram and Clubhouse, and I'm just so impressed with her work with women. Take it away. I know that you want to speak about fibroids and about the naturopathic lane of dealing with metabolism. Hi, doctor.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. And a lot of the themes that were already talked about in terms of motion sets our emotion, movement, we'll touch on some of those things. And Ronnie, you talked a lot about testosterone and metabolism, so I'll dive a little bit deeper on that. But yeah, so a little bit more about me. I am a licensed naturopathic doctor in the state of California. I work in women's health. I do a lot of hormone testing, and I do see that many health conditions often have this underlying imbalance, whether that be a nutritional deficiency, a hormone imbalance that can drive fatigue, mood issues, all sorts of symptoms around cycles, severe menopause. And so really the work that I do is helping women to get to the bottom of that. Why are they experiencing those symptoms? And I see women of all different walks of life. I see a fair number of chronic illness. So mycotoxin illness, Lyme. I see women who have chronic pain, fibromyalgia. I also see younger women who are looking for options outside of medication, whether that be for mood issues or for birth control. So we talk about other options for them. And then I work with women in menopause. So testing their hormones and then looking at what bioidentical hormones might be ideal to really support their energy level. So I'll leave more of that conversation to the other speaker is going to talk more about menopause, but I do a great deal of work on that too. So the topic that I really want to cover today is this story around mitochondria. And if your eyes glaze over and you've maybe heard this word before in biology, mitochondria are really this, I feel like, underspoken about cause of fat loss or of storing fat. And so a huge approach that I take to women's health that's very different than many practitioners is looking at, okay, what's going on with this part of the cell called the mitochondria. And so It's really where our fat is burned. It's where our fatty acids from our fat tissue are shuttled in there, burned for energy. And there's so many, we'll talk about all the different aspects of the mitochondria, but just to give you a broad overview, every single cell in your body has mitochondria. So you have trillions of cells, every cell has in the range of about 1,000 to 2,500 mitochondria, except for your brain tissue and your muscle tissue, which have way higher amounts of mitochondria, essentially more energy production than the average cell, right? Because those are really important tissues for survival. So your heart has a ton of mitochondria, your brain as well, and your muscles. So when women are having poor mitochondrial function, what they tend to experience is a lot of fatigue. That's a big one. Brain fog, the kind of this even like dementia-like symptoms. We know that many of these cognitive decline is linked to poor mitochondria. So this inability of the cell to produce energy, right? And so that's really what's happening with our metabolism, is we're trying to burn the food that we eat. Ronnie mentioned that, for energy, and that really happens in this part of the cell called the mitochondria. So when the mitochondria quit working well, which happens to everyone, by the way, it happens as we age. That's why we feel more fatigued. We want to sleep more as we age. But we can do things to restore the function, the energy production, essentially turn up the dial on the energy production in the cell. And that's how we can improve metabolism. So the mitochondria are really key to this conversation in terms of burning fat, improving energy. Fatigue is, I would say, one of the number one symptoms. And how many women, I mean, I felt fatigued. How many women feel fatigued at any point in the day, right? Whether that be due to stress, sleep, anything. I was in med school burning the candle at both ends, drinking coffee. And then I realized, oh gosh, what that's doing is essentially shortening the fuse. I'm depleting all of that out of my mitochondria. I can't burn energy, burn fat as efficiently.
But doctor, how do you first approach this? Like, women are hearing this for the first time. Now you're throwing mitochondrial cells at me. How do we approach this with our doctors, with our health practitioners?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say many practitioners, they won't use the word mitochondria, but what they will say is hormones. They'll say cortisol, they'll say estrogen, they'll say testosterone. Those are all made in that mitochondria. So we run tests for those hormones when we see, right, when you go into menopause and those hormones drop off and we quit producing those. And that can happen earlier on in life too. I test women who are really low in some of these hormones that are younger. They're not even around menopause. And so this is actually related to the mitochondria. Same with fertility. We know that when women's egg production drops and fertility drops, it's a mitochondrial. Part of it's related to their mitochondria. We can't produce energy in that cell anymore. And it's the cells that are aging, mitochondria aging. So you might not hear that word mitochondria, but that's really what's driving. So thyroid hormone has this interaction that T3, that active thyroid hormone, will turn up the dial in terms of burning fat in the mitochondria. So if we have sluggish thyroid, we feel fatigued, we don't get that signal to burn fat in our body. And so the thyroid hormone's related, as well as the cortisol. Probably heard about that hormone called cortisol. That's that energy hormone. We want to have nice, healthy levels of that in the morning so that we feel energized, we get up, our brain starts working. A lot of us probably have slightly higher levels now, and that'll drop throughout the day so that we can get to sleep at night. That's made in the mitochondria, right? So if our mitochondria are suffering, now we'll talk about some of the reasons why. They are probably going to be sluggish at producing cortisol, sluggish at producing testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. That's the factory where they're made. And so I like to use mitochondrial therapy. So things that improve hormone production, improve energy. I've seen many a woman who either have chronic fatigue, they have insomnia, the energy is a huge piece for them. And we use some of these mitochondrial therapies, Man, do we see that turn around because it's really addressing the root.
Now, what if you're not really fatigued or you think, okay, I'm fine, I just can't lose weight? How do you deal with that? How do you help women with that as far as in a naturopathic way? I know a lot of women think that just naturopathic is about spices and certain supplements and certain herbs and clean food, but it really is a different kind of thing. So how do you help women with that?
Yeah, so outside of a lot of the lifestyle factors that many, Ronnie, you touched on exercise, high intensity interval training, um, paired with dietary choices, we know that we want to encourage, when you understand what's really happening at the cellular level, we want to encourage the cell to be utilizing the food that we eat for energy, and then also to be utilizing the fat tissue for energy. And so a lot of the women that I work with will do a 12 to 16 hour fast at night. Not only does that promote that lymphatic system that cleans out the brain and really protects us from neurocognitive decline as we age, but it really is critical in fat loss and metabolism to give our bodies that window of time where it's not constantly inundated with food and calories, so it can actually access that stored fat and burn it for energy. And so a good example is if you eat your last meal at 7 p.m., you want to wait until at least 7 a.m. to eat anything.
A good 12 hours, yeah.
12 hours. I'd say that's the minimum for most people. And that's a good place to start for most women. It depends on, I look at women's thyroid testing and I look at their adrenal tests before I recommend any sort of fast or any sort of period longer than that without food. Because if
Right.
you have poor, really tired adrenals, which are related to the mitochondria not being able to produce that cortisol, and if you have sluggish thyroid function, you're going to feel terrible if you try and do a 24 or 48 hour fast. It's really not a good idea. So we really need to support the function of some of these tissues. But yeah, so the intermittent fasting, I like to recommend high intensity interval training. And then a lot of the nutrients. Let me just walk you through some of the nutrients that I use very strategically to support mitochondria. So I take this mitochondria approach. How do we restore hormone production? Because for many women, they've lost this, right? After having babies, after being in the working world, after producing so much cortisol in a stressful period, we can't just keep tapping these tissues for more cortisol. We really need to restore the function of that organ, and this is how we do it. So one of the nutrients that I love to use is something called L-carnitine. Okay, and you can get this it's in a lot of red meat, but you can also supplement with it. I also give injections of it, and it's really a phenomenal nutrient, L-carnitine, we know what it actually does is it will take that fat tissue. When the fat tissue is burned or accessed, so we have these 3 fatty acids attached to a glycerol backbone, and so that's what's in your fat tissue. And we have to take that, we have to turn that into energy. And that's how we burn fat. That's really what's happening.
Now,
And
is it
so,
okay to go to like Whole Foods or anywhere else and you see all these supplements and you see the L-carnitine? Are all of them alike, or is there something they should look out for?
yeah, the sourcing is really important. I usually encourage people, I'll dispense or I'll recommend certain companies based on quality and testing. Usually you don't always know what you're getting online or on Amazon. So I'll use something like an online dispensary. With many of the herbs that we use, we look for organic, we look for how they're sourced, how they're grown, because if you take an herb, which is a plant, and then you concentrate it and you put it into a capsule, and it has a lot of these herbicides, pesticides, toxic things, you've essentially concentrated a toxin, and now you're taking that as a supplement. We don't want to do that either, right? So quality does matter. And I use the injections in my practice because I find that many women have poor gut function and they just don't absorb supplements the same way. It's just not as effective for many women. So I'll do some sort of injection. I use patches, I use intranasals. I have all these different other ways that we can deliver things to boost metabolism or to improve energy, to improve the health of the cell. So L-carnitine is one of them. It literally, the job of L-carnitine is to shuttle those fatty acids in the fat tissue into the mitochondria to be burned like a furnace. That's all that molecule does. It's really, really critical for that. Okay. And then other things, if you were to take a dietary approach to improving your mitochondria, your energy, packing in all sorts of flavonoids, antioxidants, you think about ECGC from green tea. I think about onions and garlic and kale, a lot of these really rich carrots, beets that have these rich colors in them. These have these compounds called polyphenols or flavonoids, and we know that they have a protective effect in terms of weight loss. So they can actually signal the cell. They've done studies on these that they're associated with weight loss and prevention of weight gain. So when we have a bunch of these antioxidants, polyphenols, just think about brightly colored foods. They protect the mitochondria from damage as we age, because that will happen as we age. Lots of things damage the mitochondria, from sleep issues, alcohol, Tylenol, a lot of our NSAIDs, most medications, they will turn down the dial on the energy production on the mitochondria and on your fat burning too, because that's really where it happens. So we got to turn up the dial again. The way that we do that is give the body the right nutrients that it needs to do that. So L-carnitine, the flavonoids, polyphenols, a lot of these rich phytochemicals, really phenomenal for improving mitochondria and fat burning. I like to do, there's this other combination that's been shown to really provoke fat loss, and it's combining coffee, and coffee is one of the biggest pesticide, herbicide-rich crops in the world. And so I always recommend women, if they do drink coffee, to get the organic coffee. And if you've ever felt really tired after you've had coffee, could be that your adrenals are fatigued, or it could be that you just drink really poor quality coffee and you drink a concentrated toxin. A lot of places will buy cheap coffee and it's really high in pesticides. So organic coffee combined with something called MCT oil, and that's the extract out of coconut oil. And MCT plus coffee is this beautiful kind of fat burning combination. Dave Asprey from Bulletproof, I don't know if you're familiar with that company, but they really use that combination because it really signals the release of fatty acids out of that fat tissue to be burned. And then
it's funny, I have to add this, Dr. Amber. My grandmother passed this on to my mother, and my aunts do it. And I used to wonder why. When I was a kid, I'm talking from a toddler through grade school, whenever we got a bad cough, they would spoon from a cup of black coffee. They would do butter, not coconut oil, coffee, and we would be fine. And it wasn't because it soothed the throat. I wonder if it has any correlation to the fat mix with that caffeine. And they were from South America, so it was organic coffee back then in my grandmother's time. That's so.
Yeah, you can use butter too. There's a good nutrient profile in some of the good butters. They have vitamin A and D. Yeah, so you can use butter, but MCT is really kind of the golden bullet to combine with black coffee, organic coffee, to really amplify. And then if you do that, add that to your 12 to 16 hour fast that you do at night. Do that right away in the morning, and you're fasted when you have that coffee. That's just a beautiful recipe for improving your body's ability to burn fat. MCT will keep those mitochondria firing too. That's why it works, right? It's a mitochondrial stimulant.
Let me ask you something. What is the peptide therapy for?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. We talked a lot about mitochondria. So I use a specific therapy with a lot of the women that I work with to improve not only chronic disease conditions, but more of the fat loss, aesthetics, just women who are looking to live better longer. They want to improve their quality of life. And so I use something called peptide therapy for that. And there's peptide therapies really for everything. There's some that are for immunity, for improving gut health. I really start there with most women, because most women have really poor immunity, allergies, all sorts of issues there. We work on improving gut health, but then there are some peptides. Essentially what a peptide is it signals the body. It's very similar to a hormone, right? Our body has hundreds of thousands of signaling molecules, hormones, and peptides. And so what we're doing is we're sending a signal to the body. A lot of these peptides your body makes already. We're just adding in a stimulus for your body to make more of it. And so one example is there's a peptide, you've probably never heard of this, so you might want to write it down. It's called AOD 9604, and that stands for anti-obesity. It's an anti-obesity peptide, essentially. And a lot of these peptides were researched in Russia. They were using them on athletes. They really stimulate this fat loss process, some of them. So this specific one, it's essentially stimulates, it's the end sequence of growth hormone. So it's just a really small sequence of that, signals the body to break up fat, stimulates lipolysis essentially, and prevents your body from forming new fat tissue. So we know that growth hormone is what you have when you're 20, 18, 19, 20. It's where your hair grows thick and long. It's why you have no trouble maintaining healthy lean muscle mass, burning off fat mass at that age. And so a lot of the work that I do with women is we kind of forget about these repair hormones, repair peptides, things that repair the skin, repair the mitochondria. We often do bioidentical hormone therapy, which I use, and then I add peptide therapy to that and I get way better results. It's very complementary, but that peptide AOD 9604, it's just a biochemical name for something that they had found. You can take a troche of it. You can also inject it. There's different ways of getting these peptides. And it really just signals the body to help burn fat and prevent breaking up or building of fat. I also use that in osteoarthritis and some of these other chronic degenerative conditions as well.
I'm going to look into that. We're going to wrap this up to go into the next speaker, but before that, 3 things. Edith, I hope that you take notes on this one, but I'll send you information from what Dr. Amber said, because Edith was saying that she's always had metabolic problems. But the first thing is, let's say you're not going to an ND, you're going to a MD. And I know you both start off on the same foundation of biology, chemistry, anatomy, and then you go just 2 different ways of how to serve your clients. So let's say I'm going to MD. Can I talk to my MD about peptide therapy and all that? Or should I actually go to an ND? And do you particularly consult online? I know you have to examine women, but is there any consultation that you do online? So like the first question, can we just ask our doctors about it? Because we don't want to just go to, I always say Whole Foods, but whatever store and pick like 100 bottles of this looks good, this looks good. Oh, she named this. Or should we go to a naturopathic doctor?
Great question. So there's very few doctors that are trained in this. It's a more novel therapy. It's been used since the 1980s, but not as much in America. So I was trained by this organization called the Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. And if you want to find a practitioner who's trained in peptides, there's a couple links. You can just go type A4M into Google and you can find a bunch of registered people who are trained in this specific therapy that are local to you. And so you can locate a practitioner, A4M, the number 4 and then M. And I'm one of those, I would say fewer of the trained doctors, but most practitioners, most MDs, even a lot of NDs aren't necessarily trained in this sort of regenerative therapy where we're really just trying to help the cells to function normally again. There's a lot of, I believe that in the world that we live in now with global pandemics and lots of exposure to all sorts of things, everyone needs a strategy on board to protect themselves and to understand how to protect their cells to work well as we age. And that's protecting from, mycotoxins and the oils that a lot of our restaurants cook our food in that really damage our blood vessels and lead to heart attack and stroke risk. It's protecting ourselves from everything. And I think peptides are one strategy among all of these other ones. We think about sleep and lifestyle and adaptogens, things that help your adrenal function, your energy, your mitochondria, protecting your brain as you age. Peptides are just one way to do that. So yeah, you can reach out You'll have my information after this. I do consult about peptides. I do a lot of interviews and talks, and I have a YouTube channel and lots of things about peptides, but the all the hormone consults, you either have to fly to California to see me or run labs here. But the peptides, I do a lot of information.
So you can find Dr. Amber on Instagram, and I've seen you on Clubhouse. I'm pretty sure. I put stuff in the chat, a form doctors. I think that's amazing. I put Dr. Amber's website on there, and I will email everybody her information. Dr. Amber, anything you want to leave us with, and you're just chock full of information. And also, I want to leave everybody with this. Naturopathic doctors can work in union with your MDs. Do most naturopathic doctors and their clinics now take the regular insurances?
Yeah, it depends on the state, honestly. Some states they do, yeah, and some states they don't. It just depends on where you're located and what sort of services you offer, what sort of clinic you're in. I don't currently take insurance. I did when I was at a different clinic, so it's just contingent upon location and just.
You have to ask your insurance. Okay, but it's worth merging Eastern, Western, naturopathic, and MD. Thank you so much, doctor. Any wise words to leave us with?
Yeah, I think what I just mentioned, every woman needs a strategy on board. We have so many things coming at us from our environment. We're moms, we're running businesses. Part of the work, what I love about the work that I do is I help women and support them to be the highest version of themselves. And through so many different avenues of doing that. So yeah, I think we need a financial plan, we need a health plan, right? And if you're feeling some of the symptoms of fatigue, maybe weight gain, some of these things are popping up for you more than they have in the past, it's time to really maybe refocus on what's my health plan? What are the things I'm doing every day to take care of myself? Women tend to be caretakers of everyone else, but we need to have a plan for that aspect of our life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, doctor. It's been a pleasure. With that, thank you so much. And we're going to get you all Dr. Amber's information. Dana Lawson in the house. Where's my beautiful Dana? Dana is a coach. She will tell you a little bit about herself. I want to say hi to my friend Brooke. Good morning, Brooke. It looks like your little girl B really wants your attention. Beatrice. Brooke may have some questions coming up from Brittany. And anybody else that wants to ask any questions, please just unmute yourself, put it in the chat. I'll ask it for you, but please do come on up and ask questions. But Dana, take it away. I would really love for you just to briefly talk to us about how you got into coaching because of your going through menopause.
My coaching journey started shortly before I turned 50, and I was in accounting. I worked for a recruiting company, and
I'm sorry to interrupt, Dana, but
yes.
To me, your mic seems a little far away.
Oh, let me turn my volume up some. Is that any better? No?
You were better before we started. Did you do something differently?
No, I didn't. I'll just take the headset out.
Maybe that was it.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Am I good?
Oh, much better. Go for it.
Okay. So I was working in the field of accounting, and I was close to 50, it was probably about 48 at the time, and I could not imagine retiring doing that. And so I just did a Google search, careers for women over 50, and health coaching kept popping up. So I started to do a little research. And I'm kind of a nerd that way. I like to know how things work. I'm very curious about, how the body works and all the things that go on that make us tick. And so this seemed right up my alley. I have a previous 10 years of experience in healthcare, front and back office. I worked at a hospital. I worked for an OBGYN, a perinatalogist, pulmonologist. I also ran my own business teaching childbirth classes.
Oh, wow.
So this career really spoke to me. So that's how I started
And how did you
through
get
health
into
coaching.
specifically your story of working with women and menopause?
Yes, I had a very terrible time. All of my friends know that my menopause experience was not great. It was horrible. And the experience was so bad that most of my friends know I'm very upbeat, very positive, happy person. And then every day I just wanted to stay in bed and cover myself with the covers, not open the blinds. I cried a lot. I gained a lot of weight, and what I gained weight while I was being active. So I was running, 3-4 times a week. I prepared for a half marathon, and I still gained 30 pounds.
Your story is
So
not new to me, and Brittany
that,
runs into that as well. They work harder, they do more strength training, they diet, and they're still gaining weight.
yes. So I knew I had to do something. And so my first stop was a health coach. Yes, I am one, but I also recognize the value of health coaching. So I sought one of my colleagues, and she started me on this journey of self-discovery, of being gentle to myself and really find out what's going on. So I had lab work. I found out a lot of things, and that kind of, as I started working on each one of those things one at a time, baby steps, and I saw my health improve, I was like, why doesn't anybody know about this? And I have been on a mission since then to try to educate women as what's going on in their bodies at menopause and what you can do about it.
Mention some, for example, milestones that you go through as a health coach, because you do go through like a timeline or a checkoff list. It's like, okay, calm down. We can't take care of all this at once. Sort of like a quick timeline or milestone thing that you do.
Well, the first thing I did was journal. So I journal every day. I journaled my symptoms, my emotions, my food. And being able to keep track of that was what helped me to see my progress later on. I like I said earlier, I had lab work done that confirmed why I felt so crappy. And then, taking the steps to try to rectify those circumstances. So I think I want to just clear up any misconceptions about menopause and what it is. Menopause is when you have not had a menstrual period for a consecutive 12 months. Okay, pretty simple, right? So if you have a period and you are 11 months in, you are not menopausal. So that's the definition of menopause, when you haven't had a cycle in a consecutive 12 months. So estrogen, particularly estradiol, which is produced in the ovaries, is the reason why periods stop, because the production then stops. And so without estrogen or estradiol, we don't have ovulation and then no periods. And so it marks the end of a woman's fertile years, but it's even much more than that. And I want to just jump into how metabolism is affected during menopause, if that's okay.
Yes, go for it. It's exactly what we're
So you and Dr. Amber have really emphasized and defined what metabolism is. Metabolism, like you both have said, it's how you utilize energy, how glucose is distributed in the body, how you burn and store fat. And the cool thing, or the interesting thing, is that menopause and metabolism really coincide because of estradiol, the estrogen that's produced in the ovaries. Estradiol links all reproductive and metabolic functions. And for women, estradiol is the master hormone. It controls our metabolism. And so when we are producing less as we age and then none, then it really causes a lot of chaos systemically. And so then our bodies become more prone or more capable of storing fat than burning it. And so that's why we have the fat accumulation around the middle, behind the arms, hips and thighs. We lose that cute little waist we used to have. And it's because of that shift. And so another interesting thing about estrogen is that estrogen is a hormone that speaks to an estrogen receptor. Now, the communication or the action on the cell, it doesn't happen like the hormone doesn't speak to the cell itself. There's a receptor that's like the middleman. So the hormone has the message. It sits in the receptor, delivers its message to the receptor, then the receptor tells the cells what to do. And you so beautifully mentioned earlier the things in our environment that have a huge impact on how our cells will behave. You mentioned endocrine disruptors, those xenoestrogens, BPA, plastics, pesticides, heavy metals, phthalates, parabens, all of those things. And it's interesting, the EWG.org, that's the Environmental Women's Working Group, Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, they had an article published in 2016 called BPA Bombshell. And I'm just going to quote a couple of things that it mentioned. It said that those endocrine disruptors, they not only do they cause cancer, but they also are the causes of infertility, diabetes, obesity, and other serious problems. And so what happens, those fake estrogens go and talk to our estrogen receptors, but then it delivers a false message to our cells, and it tells our cells to do something totally different. So
And
it could really lead to some
xenoestrogens
problems.
are estrogen mimickers.
Yes,
They mimic estrogen, but they're not.
but they are not.
They're like
Exactly.
fake sugar substitutes mimic sugar, but it's not. I had to throw that in. I hate sucralose. Anyway, go ahead.
No, that's good. So estrogen is so important to our function. It's in other receptors of the body. So here's another thing that happens in menopause, and I think Dr. Amber touched on it, on how there's like gut problems that women face when they're in menopause, and it's because we have estrogen receptors even on our immune system, and the gut bacteria is more prone to inflammation during menopause than any other time during life. The gut microbiome changes, and so there's this disruption, dysbiosis, and so many women are more prone to leaky gut. Maybe they haven't had it before, but because of the decline in estrogen, it brings in now another component to already not sleeping, gaining weight, and now we have gut dysbiosis. So it's a lot of things that we experience. But menopause is not just like, it's not the end of life. It's not the end of the world. And if you are suffering right now, or you have suffered, there is a solution. There is a way to rev up your metabolism. So one of the ways that was already talked about by you, Ronnie, and also Dr. Amber, was to improve mitochondrial activity through intermittent fasting. And I want to just speak just a few minutes about that, because fasting, like Dr. Amber said, it does help burn visceral fat. That's that fat in the belly area. But the great thing is that it does not impair muscle mass, or it does not it doesn't affect muscle mass. So like some fad diets or extreme dieting, extreme fasting, they all cause a person to lose muscle mass. And as you well know, Ronnie, muscle mass is super, super important as we age, because it helps to keep us strong. It helps to keep us balanced. And balance also decreases with age. And then if you don't feel comfortable on your feet, if you're afraid of falling, how is that quality of life? It's not. So in addition to visceral fat, it also helps burn that fatty liver. We hear a lot about fatty liver disease, and fasting, intermittent fasting can help that as well. It helps our mitochondria work better. Also, what happens, and I think both of you have already alluded to this, the process of autophagy.
Yeah.
So when we have time restricted eating, or we are fasting, our cells then go through this regenerative process, which is triggered by time restricted eating. So if anybody's interested in just trying it out, I know it really did improve how it was able to burn sugar. I also found out that during my the lab testing that I had, that I have an underactive thyroid. And I found out that all of my mom's sisters, all of them have had problems, including my mother, with underactive thyroid. I had one who had it removed, another who has fluid removed from hers, another with diabetes. So, I mean, that's something that also should be looked at when you're menopausal. Look at your family history. Talk to relatives if they're still around, and ask them, because family history is really going to have also another add another component to what kind of health that you may or may not experience.
I want to touch on two things because we're coming up on Brittany. But the two things I want to ask you about, well, first, to clear up autophagy, and this is just very basic, is our cells will need food, glucose, glycogen, amino acids, protein. The amino acids are protein. So it's like, okay, when you're intermittent fasting or fasting, it will go to the cells that maybe are deteriorating or have some, I'm just kind of gunk or crud or whatever, dying cells, and it'll eat the bad parts of those cells. It doesn't eat cells, because a lot of people have said, oh, isn't it intermittent fasting you start eating itself? It's like, no, that's cannibalism, which your body can do. But the autophagy is where it cleans out the ucky parts, let's say, of the cells that need to get rid of that waste, because it just wants to eat. So it looks for that. But just the last thing that I want you to leave people with is, you said you were gaining weight and you were working harder, heavier weights. I've heard that women have gone to CrossFit and HIIT and all this. And it's like, but I'm gaining weight. I don't get it. And they were perimenopause. They didn't even know until I said, have you had your FSH checked, follicular stimulant hormones, or have you talked to your doctor? How did you start losing the weight? Because you gained how many? 30 pounds, I think you said?
30 pounds.
Yeah. How did you start losing the weight?
The first thing I did, even before I had any lab work, which was very shortly afterward, was intermittent fasting. And then I had my lab work. I saw where my hormone levels were, and I started bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And that, it's not, maybe it's not for everyone, but it worked wonders for me. It really calmed my body back down. I also was taking adrenal cortex to support my adrenals, because I had adrenal fatigue, and the adrenal and thyroid work together. So if you fix one, you fix the other. You need to support them both. I'm sure Dr. Amber and you both can agree with that. And those were the things that I did. So I started out real small, because it's almost like when you're fasting, you have to be careful. You need to obviously check with your doctor. But start off small, and then you can work your way up safely to a longer fasting period. Like right now, I do a 16-8. So I eat within an 8-hour window. I stop eating at 7, and I'm good. And it's really worked out well.
It's beautiful. What did you do as far as, go ahead.
I'm sorry, one quick thing about bioidentical hormones. I think a lot of people have been misinformed and are very afraid of hormone replacement therapy because of that Women's Health Initiative study back in 2002. The difference is, in a nutshell, the women in that study were well past menopause. They were overweight and smokers. Number two, they were using Premarin, which is estrogen from a pregnant horse, and progestin, which is a fake progesterone. Progestins and Premarin was a recipe for disaster. So in addition to the fact that the women were outside of the age group and had these high risk factors, then you mix in estrogen from a pregnant horse and a fake estrogen, and it did cause cancer. But estrogen is such an important hormone. It regulates every function in a woman's body. So before you make any decision, check with someone who's certified, who really knows a lot about hormones. And if you do, make sure you use bioidenticals. We don't want to use anything synthetic in the body.
Beautiful. Last thing, then we're going to go to Brittany. Did you change up your workouts? Because you said you were training for a marathon. How do you work out now?
I did my marathon. I did it the very first time. I did it in 3 hours and 28 minutes. So I did change things up. I still run, but I'm working on an injury right now. So I have to have an ankle brace, but I'm slowly getting back to that, but I've added more strength. And so I highly encourage strength and weight-bearing exercises. Not only does it help build your testosterone, but it helps with balance. It helps with body image. When you feel stronger, then the way you move is totally different. And it certainly helps with burning excess fat.
Strong and sexy. And strength training also helps with your posture, and posture looks confident, and posture just helps everything, or your organs, your spinal cord, everything, but it also makes you look really good. Dana, thank you. You're a wealth of information. We're going to email everybody all your information, but just again, Dana Lawson, she's a coach. We're going to put her email in here and her connection. We put your freebie.
I'm doing a giveaway too. I have look at me, menopause brain. The menopause metabolism reboot meal plan. It's a 7-day meal plan for anybody who's here today. And I'm also,
in the chat.
Carrie Lynn is going to help do a giveaway, because we talked about meal prep and how important it is for us to use other than plastics. And so these are silicone containers that if you look, we can kind of squeeze them and make them really small like this. And then for transport, we can take the top off and voila, there we go.
Perfect.
So I'm giving this away. This is a $50 value along with the meal plan and a free discovery call, $150 worth of stuff. So who is going to win? Carrie, do you want to spin the wheel?
I'm not doing it. I didn't even know about this.
I was feeling generous.
ED Lucas. ED, turn on your camera. Say hi. You got to do it now. ED, where are you?
Are you there? Can I see who I'm doing the giveaway
hello.
to?
Yeah,
Hey!
ED, you won.
Congratulations. You get
Thank
a set
you.
of silicone food containers that'll help you with your meal prep to stay on track.
I'm jealous.
Thank
I want
you.
them. All right.
So I
Dana.
just need an address, so somebody could, if you could put it in the chat, that would be great. You could
Okay.
just send it directly to me.
ED,
Congratulations.
Thank you. I've been looking for those.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Lady Lucas. Congratulations.
Thank
All right,
you.
we're gonna go to Brittany. Thank you, Dana. I had no idea, ladies, and I'm jealous. I want those, so we're talking. Okay, thank you, Dana. Brittany Wick.
You're
Woo!
welcome.
Oh my gosh, she's one of the busiest women alive. Brittany, if she's not competing, she's being featured in magazines and online magazines. Every time I turn on a podcast, you're there. Brittany, I love that I caught you. I nabbed you. You're in my net now. So Brittany, I would love for you to talk. Oh, I love your nails. I would love for you to talk about, because we've covered a lot, you've heard. Really, you work with women day to day, still one-on-one, about daily life hacks for your metabolism of all things. Take it away. You've got the floor, Brittany, and thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been amazing. I've been learning so much from everyone else. That it's just, there's so much with metabolism. It's insane. But yeah, this is crazy. I love it. Yeah, so Ronnie kind of mentioned it before. I am a fitness competitor. So with that being said, when Dr. Amber mentioned L-carnitine, I actually take that prior to my cardio sessions to help kind of burn more fat, if you will. So everything that she said, I definitely implement that into like my supplementation and stuff like that. So everything that everyone's talking about is so spot on. And essentially what I'm going to do is just tie everything together. So everything that I'm about to talk about, so think of it this way, none of these individual issues are going to be a make or break when it comes to resetting your metabolism. But together, you know, it can add to boost your overall daily burn. So Ronnie mentioned this before, but sleep. Okay, so a study done at the University of Chicago found that getting only 5 hours, first off, who is getting 5 hours? I'm like trying to get 9 over here. But only getting 5 hours of sleep reduced the rate of fat loss by more than half, which is insane. So researchers had people eat a calorie restricted diet, and everyone lost weight because, you know, you have to be in a caloric deficit. But when people were allowed 8 hours of sleep a night, they burned significantly more fat than when they only received 5. So regardless of how busy you are, prioritize your sleep. All right, heading into protein. So protein, not only do studies show that protein helps you maintain more muscle if you're losing weight, but your body has to go through more steps to digest it. So, which means you burn more fuel. So as a side note, eating protein can help you with that feeling of feeling fuller for longer. So make sure you get adequate protein every single day. All right. Dietary recommendations suggest getting between 10 to 35% of your daily calories from protein. So if you're not getting enough, I actually do tell my clients and myself, just take a quality protein shake to make sure you're getting the adequate protein intake. Obviously, whole foods are going to be better than any supplements, but sometimes we're in a hurry and we're just like, for me, I am one of those people who will push the snooze button up until the last minute before I head out the door. So I always take a protein shake, but always prioritize your protein. That's what I tell my clients. No matter what, always prioritize your protein. All right, going into caffeine. So research shows that 100 milligrams of caffeine, so about the amount of a cup of coffee, can temporarily boost your resting metabolic rate as much as 3 to 11%.
Let me cut in and interrupt you. I'm so rude, Brittany. But just so everybody knows, your resting metabolic rate is just the rate at which your body's burning everything, the biochemistry, burning fat and working, with you just sitting there being a couch potato, breathing, doing nothing. That's your metabolic rate. Okay. It's different from your active metabolic rate when you're working out, dancing, moving, whatever. So that's what your metabolic rate is. And you can change it. Go ahead, Brittany. I just wanted to clarify that.
No, I mean, as I'm talking about caffeine, I'll just sip my coffee real quick. Okay. So as a burn, a bonus burn, green tea, brain fart. Okay, so green tea contains metabolism boosting antioxidants. So if you're not a coffee drinker, switch it out to green tea, or not switch it out because you're not drinking coffee. Add that green tea in there, or if you want to switch out your caffeine, add some green tea because it does have that metabolism boosting antioxidants.
I have a question for you and or Dr. Amber. What if you're like me, don't hate me? I don't really enjoy green tea, just green tea in a bag or in the little tea leaf thing. What if you don't like green tea? Is there anything else or any other form that you can take it?
I personally like the flavored. Have you tried the flavored green teas?
No.
So there's a ton of different flavor ones, and I don't know if Dr. Amber has any other suggestions, but I always have to switch it up because I can't have like one thing all the time. Yeah, there's different flavored green teas. So there's like peach and raspberry, and yeah, so if you don't like the green tea flavor, those are really, really good options.
Okay, thank you. Because I personally, it's like I've tried and I just don't like it. I like Rubio's and all that. And no, ladies, the green tea latte at Starbucks does not count. That's just a lot of sugar in there. Anyway, go ahead.
No, which actually brings to my next point. So make sure you don't have any added sugar or calorie-rich flavors to your beverages, since these can obviously quickly undo any metabolic boosting effects. All right, going into hydration, and I know you've already heard a lot about hydration, but water. Here's another reason why to make sure you get 8 hours, or not 8 hours. Yeah, get 8 hours of sleep, but 8 glasses of water. So the magic number is 8. All right, so after drinking about 2 cups of water, your metabolism is boosted up by 30% for almost an hour after. All right, so it's why you want to stay hydrated. A lot of people recommend that whole, gallon a day. Yes, that is a great metric, but obviously if you're sweating, and especially in the summer months, make sure you're staying hydrated. Heading into exercise, I know a lot of us already touched base on exercise, but first, the more your body moves, the more calories you burn. And exercise definitely helps with that. But exercise also boosts your metabolism in a few different ways beyond the immediate calories, the burned, okay? So more muscle, all right? So ladies, you're not gonna get bulky if you touch a dumbbell, okay? It is not gonna make you bulky. All right, so more muscle. Resistance training is going to help you build more muscle, and more muscle tissue is gonna burn more fuel even at rest. I think the statistic is every pound of muscle that you have is an additional 50 calories burned per hour. All right. So you have 2 different types of exercises that's going to help boost your metabolism. So you're going to have that high intensity interval training, AKA HIIT. It has definitely been more of a popular thing nowadays in the fitness industry. But HIIT workouts are going to be those short workouts that are done with intensity, and they are going to elevate your calorie burn for hours after your workout. So the more intense, the higher the burn. All right. So then going into resistance training, and Dana actually mentioned this as far as the muscle tissue and stuff like that. So lifting weights is going to give you a modest post-workout burn. So elevating your metabolism for a couple hours post-exercise. So the high intensity and resistance training, I am going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. As far as what to do kind of on like the daily, if you will. So these are just lifestyle factors, what I'm talking about right now. And then I'll give you some action plans to kind of incorporate into your life. All right, so heading into stress, I know we already talked about this, but when you're stressed, your body releases hormones to help you deal with the stress, right? And that's a good thing because it's actually part of your body's survival fight or flight mechanism. But the problem occurs when you're under chronic stress. And that hormonal changes that are designed to help you power through quick stress can, over time, lower your metabolism, which we've already kind of talked about. And in fact, a study done in 2015 at Ohio State found that people, or women specifically, who reported a lot of stress during the day burned 104 fewer calories than if they ate a high calorie meal the next day. Wow. So it really does slow down your metabolism. So those are kind of the things that, lifestyle factors that can affect your metabolism. So here I'm going to give you a little bit of a quick outline of action items, if you will, for each day. So first, we're going to focus on optimizing your diet for ultimate metabolic recharge. So perfect portions. Okay. Portions, as a nutritionist, this is what I see a lot is people are like, oh, I'm eating healthy. And I'm like, okay, which is great, but what are your portions? All right. And their portion sizes are a lot more than what they should be intaking. And that's the reason why they can't lose weight, why their metabolism is kind of stagnant. So let's focus on those perfect portions. So a good way is to keep a food journal. So there's free apps like MyFitnessPal to make sure you're eating enough, but also not too much. And going back into that protein. So protein, all right, is another action item. So try to eat a protein source at every meal or at least 2 to 3 times a day. All right, prioritize protein. If there's nothing that you remember from me talking, I want you to remember prioritize protein. All right, green tea. Okay, so treat yourself to a cup of green tea to fight that mid-afternoon slump or to kind of boost it in the morning. So not only will it taste great, I know Ronnie doesn't like the taste, but there are, like I said, other flavors of green tea. But it will give you a slight energy boost, but could also help burn more fat. Okay. Eliminate added sugars. Okay. If you've ever followed me or do follow me, I have a huge sweet tooth. Okay. So I'm not saying like, oh, you got to eat healthy all the time. Lord forbid I inhale sugar like it's my job. But, you know, especially when it comes to metabolism, you want to eliminate those added sugars. Okay. Remember everything in moderation. So these can take your blood sugar levels on a roller coaster ride and setting the stage for storing fat. So again, moderation is okay. But just note that added sugars are usually found in processed foods and are not the same as natural sugars, which are going to be found in that fruit and veggies. Again, another misconception, which I hear a lot as a nutritionist is, oh, I don't eat fruit because of the sugar.
Or carrots. That drives me nuts.
Oh my God, please don't do that. Like, enjoy your fruit because it's not going to make you fat. Okay. And those are going to be, you know, the added sugar is going to be more in those processed foods. A tip that I usually tell a lot of my clients is shop the outside of the grocery store because those are going to be your more whole nutrient dense foods. All the inside aisles are going to be more of the processed foods. All right. So enjoy the fruit, but let's try to eliminate those added sugars. All right. And then hydrate. So again, I already talked about the benefit of it. So drink half your body weight in ounces every day. Okay. At least. Again, it's in the summer months. I am currently in Florida and it's hot and humid over here. So I'm definitely drinking more than half of my body weight in ounces. So again, if you're, let's say 150 pounds, aim for 75 ounces a day. And that's again, not including the water you drink during your workouts. Okay. Speaking of workouts, let's focus on exercise. Okay. So all exercise and movement requires your body to burn energy. But there are two types of workouts that help rev up your metabolism beyond the time that you spend exercising. Okay. So again, I already talked about this, but it's going to be that resistance training and high intensity interval training. All right. So resistance training is going to help build that muscle, which burns more calories at rest than other body tissues. So as we get older, we naturally lose muscle. I think it's at the age of 30, believe it or not, is when we start losing that muscle mass. So it's important to make sure you keep as much as possible. Again, ladies, you're not going to bulk up by looking at a dumbbell. Okay. Huge misconception. All right. But you can do this through weight training. Okay. So building that muscle. Next is going to be that high intensity interval training. And essentially, I'm not going to get too sciencey on it, but there is a lot of workouts. Essentially, what you're doing is you're boosting your heart rate up and then recovering and then boosting it back up. So it's that kind of up and down thing. Your body is going to burn 24 to 36 hours post a high intensity workout because it's trying to recoup that oxygen that you spent. All right. So like I said, 24 to 36 hours post a high intensity workout, your body's still going to keep burning additional calories. So again, high intensity is going to burn more calories than regular steady state workouts. So steady state is where you're just doing, say, straight cardio for 20 minutes. So think endurance for those steady state workouts. And like I said, they also require your body to do a little extra work after because it's going to help recover and repair, which requires more calories, AKA energy. All right. So depending on your current regimen or routine, I recommend, would you remind? Oh, okay. So don't worry, girl, I'm about to get into that. This is what I recommend. And Pilates and yoga is great. Yes, absolutely. Continue doing that. So 2 to 3 total body weight training workouts a week on non-consecutive days. All right. So don't do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, total body exercises. Let's spread it out throughout the day. I do like Monday, Wednesday, Friday of total body weight training. Do try to add in 1 to 2 high intensity interval sessions a week. So I know some of us may have knee injuries, or, you know, we can't jump. That doesn't mean you can't incorporate high intensity. I have a lot of clients that, you know, they have like joint problems or inflammation. So I make modifications on their high intensity. So instead of like doing a jump squat, you could go into like a squat calf raise. So the whole point is to essentially get your heart rate up.
Yeah, the thing is, it's intensity, not weight or force. Intensity is different than weight or force. I just want to add that in because I'm 50 and I deal with a lot of this. Try to look for a personal trainer that gets it. Nothing against the newbie, the newer, the younger personal trainers, but really make sure that you interview them, even if it's just for a half a dozen sessions, or that you really look at that YouTube video, if that's what you're doing at home, to make sure that they modify for you so that you're still intense. Like you could just do hand weights and do like a hand cycle, you know, stuff like that. That if you do get a personal trainer for even a few sessions or on, that they understand your elbow issues, your joint issues, your knees, your hips, your arthritis, your herniated disc, all of that, and don't push you in the wrong way, push you to progress, but that they get that high intensity doesn't mean hard banging. Anyway, go ahead, Brittany. I just had to throw that in because that's my passion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ronnie is like 100% correct. And I used to be an Orange Theory coach. So, you know, like it's high intensity, right? And sometimes depending on like, there was like a lot of injuries. I'll hate to admit that, because like, you know, depending on the time or whatever, you don't get that one-on-one. So some of the coaches may not even see your issues, or because of time, we'll just have you just kind of do it. So just be mindful, always listen to your body. And then just like Ronnie said too, just because, you know, intensity and force of power, or she worded it better, but is 2 completely different things. Yeah. But going back to what I recommend, I'm almost done, I promise, guys. I know you guys are ready to enjoy your Friday. Okay, so lastly, for added benefit, incorporate some bonus steady state cardio workouts. So work at a moderate pace for 20 to 45 minutes, 1 to 2 days a week. All right. So with that being said, with workouts, something is better than nothing. Okay. I have a lot of people say, oh, I can't dedicate an hour. You don't have to, especially if you're doing high intensity, you're not going to be able to do it for an hour anyway. So focus on something over nothing. Even if you have 20 minutes, do a 20-minute high intensity workout. All right. So, and if you can't work out every day, first off, you shouldn't be working out every day anyway. Rest is just as important. But if you can, like I said, 2 to 3 total body exercises, weight training exercises throughout the week, 1 to 2 interval training sessions, so high intensity. And then again, for added bonus, try to do a day or 2 of steady state. So just
a hike, a bike ride. Yeah.
Something steady state. It doesn't have to be, like I said, intense. But those are what I recommend. And as you can see from what everyone else has talked about, your metabolism is such a complex process that it involves a lot of different factors. And remember, the great thing that of all of what all of these amazing speakers have talked about is you have control. And you have control over most of them. All right. So yes, genetics do play a factor, but you have control over most of them. And then when you shift your lifestyle to boost your metabolism, you'll just feel more energized, focused, and alive. So with that being said, that is my portion. And I'll hand it back off to Ronnie, or if anyone does have any questions, I would love to answer them.
I would love to. And if you want to answer it too, to Liz and everyone, people always ask me, well, I do Pilates. I did Pilates before it was a thing. Okay. I love Pilates because it works on your intensifying your muscles, and really it started by Joseph Pilates to do physical therapy for dancers because they couldn't do a lot of things, so he had to start from the core up. Your core actually is connected to your bicep. Your core is connected to your forearm and your style and your posture. That's why I talk about that. So yes, yoga is awesome, but unless you do Ashtanga yoga or certain body strengthening yoga that has been morphed into exercise class rather than the standard traditional yoga, which is more about breathing and certain postures, then yoga and Pilates, and go ahead and throw tomatoes at me, is not strength training. You use your muscles in a different way. It's a different modality and they all complement each other. But please don't replace a little bit of weight training with Pilates. I love Pilates. I should do more of it. And I incorporate Pilates moves, core strength, into my training for other people, into their weight training. Also, if you really, I don't do high intensity. It's now called the new thing. I don't know if you've heard of, Brittany, HICT, which is dumb because I think everybody remembers HIIT. It used to be high intensity interval training, which it always will be for me. But now I'm reading HICT. I'm like, what the heck is that? High intensity continued training. It's the same thing if you see that. But it's interesting because my heart rate is great. My sugars are great. My blood pressure is great. And I don't do HIIT because I had a knee issue. I have arthritis and I used to be a dancer for 9 years and I pounded the hell out of my body and I have 5 herniated discs. I don't feel like doing HIIT training. So what do? A great Zumba class for cardio, and I do circuit training, meaning do your bicep curls, do some back rows, do some triceps, do your abs. It's like, don't stop. That's circuit training. You keep your heart rate a little bit elevated. Obviously not as HIIT, high intensity, because it's not intense, but you keep going nonstop. So if you go to the gym, if you're back at the gym, don't stop and talk to your girlfriend, talk and work. If you can't, don't do that. Or don't sit there and text. Go from one muscle to the other, so you keep your heart rate elevated. If you work out at home, same thing. You get it done faster too. I work out in half an hour and I'm done. Now, I love what Brittany says about full body, because Brittany is talking about you must work each one of your muscles minimum once a week. I say twice a week, each muscle. So what I do, because I don't want to be there working out for an hour, is I work 2 muscles Monday, 2 different muscles Tuesday, 2 different muscles Wednesday. We're back around to the original muscles I did on Monday. So if I work out my biceps and chest on Monday, I don't do it again till Thursday. That way they're recuperating. And I only worked out 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe 40 if I'm doing a lot more chest, shoulders, whatever. And a good workout plan will fix that for you. So, and Brittany, I would like you to, I wanted to ask you about this. Portions equals calories. And a lot of people have this mindset like, oh, I don't want to count calories. So how does just looking at the portions, or how do you help your clients deal with the, oh, I don't want to count calories thing?
I don't have my clients count calories. I essentially tell them what they do it. But because some people you could use portion sizes based on your hand. All right. So like protein is the palm of your hand. Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that. Carbs, you want a cup size. And then with carbs too, carbs are not bad. For the love of God, please do not think carbs are bad. And they're actually your energy source. So carbs are also going to include your vegetables and your fruits. But anyway, so cup of carbs, and then your healthy fats is going to be a thumb size. So healthy fats they have more calories in them. So it's 9 calories per gram. So the serving size is going to be smaller. So if you ever look at like peanut butter, 2 tablespoons, which would again be like the size of your thumb, is like 190 calories. So that's why you want to like focus on the portions and not so much like counting calories or just obsessing over that.
Yeah. And the thing is, you are counting calories, but you're not really. Know what I mean? Tanya, you had a question? Unmute yourself, baby cakes.
Yes, thank you. I did have a question for Brittany. You recommended protein shakes, and I wondered if you had any recommendations for specific protein shakes. I tried to have a protein shake, and I did it more when I was working out. I was going to Orange Theory. And so I had my protein shakes more often, but I wonder if you had a recommendation for one, because sometimes I wonder if what I use may have too many starchy vegetables in it. It is plant-based and it is organic.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, which one are you taking right now?
Garden of Life, and it has 35, I think 30, maybe it's 20 grams of protein, and it's the organic meal replacement.
Yeah, it's 22 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So that's good, because a lot of protein shakes. So with supplements, you do want to be cautious about quality. So it's just remember you're paying for quality over quantity. And I have this discussion with my husband all the time because he like constantly like has protein shakes, and I'm like, he's like, oh, you know, you spend too much on your protein. I'm like, listen, baby cakes, like you are paying for quantity, I'm paying for quality. So yes, there is going to be a difference. But some protein only has like, so you want to look at the nutrition label. Some will say that they're a protein shake, but it's only like 10 grams of protein. I always recommend to my clients, you want to try to find like somewhere between 20 and 30 grams. Because again, that's what's going to be for like chicken, or if you had like a whole food based protein. So I recommend between 20 and 30 grams. Make sure there's not a lot of added sugar in it. There was this one that it tastes really good, but it definitely has sugar in it. And also with us women, we want to find something that's between like 100 and 150 calories.
Yeah.
So you don't want to go like one scoop and it be like 300 calories.
No, I think this is like 130.
Okay. No, that's perfect. I personally take First Form, and I'll put in the link in here, the one that I personally take. Because like I said, I go on quality, and these ones taste really, really good. The chocolate banana tastes bomb. I actually just got some yesterday.
Ooh, I'm going to look at that. The other thing I want to add to that, Tanya, your protein is for after your workout, not before. You don't need anything before. It's to recuperate within 2 hours after you've done weight training. So depending on what workout you do at Orange Theory or any of those.
Well, I don't go anymore. That's when I went.
Sometimes
but I always had the protein shake after.
Yeah, that's good. And you don't need it if it's just cardio. I mean, it's good to have, but it's mostly for your muscles. And I always look for protein shakes with stevia or real sugar, not sucralose and fructose and all that stuff, the refined sugars and the fake.
I always get unsweetened. I'm a little odd in that I don't really care for sugar. So
awesome.
Everything I get is unsweetened. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. I just want to add one more little thing to the protein. The reason you want protein with every meal, as Brittany said, and I've always said that, is because it's slow. It takes longer for your body to break up protein, whether it's animal protein or vegetable protein or beans or whatever you do for protein. So the slower it takes to digest, it's also slowing down that spike for the insulin spike. That's why you always want it to combine with your carbohydrates. So whenever you have, like, let's say you have a snack, have a few almonds or half a cheese stick. Always have a little protein with every meal and or every snack, because it slows down that digestive system and it helps your metabolism. So Brittany, did you want to say something? I'm going to wrap up in a second.
Nope, that's perfect.
Okay. Thank you so much. I have so much more to tell you. Can tea and coffee be included in your daily body weight hydration? Yes and no. It changes your pH level, ED. The coffee and the tea changes your pH level. So you also want to get water out of your fruit and out of your vegetables. Just think about it. A big gulp is 30 ounces. So 35 ounces isn't that much. I personally like to drink herbal teas for my water. In other words, cold herbal teas. So I get you. But be careful with the ones that have tetraene, which is like green tea, or caffeinated. That said, you have more questions. You're going to get to ask them in an email. I'm going to follow up with the replay. And I just want to say, if you can stay on for a few minutes, every one of these experts has so much to give. Please keep keep in touch with them. Follow them on Instagram, Clubhouse, Facebook, wherever you can find them. I'll send you an email with their names and their social media links and their free offers. I am Ronnie Loiza, a Fitness After 50 coach. I have a decade of personal training under me, experience. I know I have a lot of opinions, but it's only based on experience and working with women, listening to you women, asking you questions, you talking to me. I would like to offer you coaching because that is what I have turned to for the rest of my life. If nothing else, this pandemic had me decide once again, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? Who do I want to be? What do I want to be? Oh my God, I love it when I have breakthroughs with women. You find out what you really, really want to be for the rest of your life, what kind of person you want to be, what kind of attitude, what kind of thriving. And then we build the goal setting from there. So I'm about fitness and lifestyle, habit changing, bringing on good habits. Yes, you can at any age. You can bring on good eating. You can bring on good lifestyle habits. And we set goals. We hit milestones. I'm here for one-on-one support. That's what you're getting into. As Brittany said, you pay for quality. That's what coaching is about. No one can do it alone. That's what we have found out as women in our experience and in our life. So you get one-on-one coaching with me. You get accountability. You get a plan of action. You get milestones. You get transformation in whatever it is that you want to accomplish in fitness, in health, and well-being, and the type of woman you want to be to show up for your family, for your husband or wife or partner, for your work, for yourself. I really want to offer you to get in touch with me for the one-on-one coaching, because that is going to set you to be the best of you now, the best of you, how you can be, what you want to be, how you want to feel, to have time for fun, for family, for friends, for yourself, for your work, for your retirement, for everything. So I am Ronnie. I'm a Fitness After 50s coach. I would really love to connect with you, and let's see about the possibility of getting a coach to get you there faster, because a coach isn't forever. Psychotherapy may be forever. Other things may be forever. A coach actually gets you to, we have this amount of time. Let's start working on you. I focus on you one-on-one, because there's no better feeling than actually knowing that we reached how you want to be with your health, with your well-being, with your life. So with that, thank you for showing up today. I'm going to get you your replay information. I'm going to get you the links, all the free gifts. And I thank you so much for your time and your attention. My love to you, my respect, and we'll talk soon. And thank you to all the speakers. Bye, guys. Dana, Brittany, Dr. Amber, Neva, thank you so, so much. And Brittany, you're a rock star. We're all rock stars.
You.
Bye.
Thank you.
Any questions? I'll get you my email.